Now, let's start making our way around the NFL. I'll give you some quick opinions on every team. Let's start, I guess, with the first two games, the Ravens and the Chiefs, and then the Brazil game, Eagles and the Packers. The Chiefs, at this point, unless someone stops them, are the favorite to make the Super Bowl or win the Super Bowl every single year going forward. I don't know how many times we're going to do this thing with the Ravens, where I fall for it. I fell for it again this year, where it's like, oh, this is the Ravens' year. The Ravens are really, really good. The way that Lamar plays just isn't suited to win playoff games, and to beat the Chiefs specifically. It just seems like every single year we're going through the same thing over and over again. Oh, Lamar's running back. Oh, Lamar needs better receivers, blah, 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 blah. He's really, really good. He's a former MVP. He's probably a future Hall of Famer. But ultimately, I don't think the Ravens are ever going to be able to go deep, deep into the playoffs, win a Super Bowl with the play style that Lamar has. They're kind of in a tough spot, obviously, because you can't replace him. They're stuck with him long term, but that's just how I feel. I just don't see it. This is, they're already struggling with the offensive line. They have Mark Andrews blocking, so I just don't see it. Let's go to the Eagles and the Packers game. Obviously, Jordan Love got hurt. That's a tough injury for them. The Packers looked really good. They almost were kind of like the NFC, not sleeper team, but it was like that was kind of like obviously opposite of the sleeper, where that was kind of like the sexy team going in. It seemed like a lot of people like the Packers a lot. And the Eagles, to me, are a lot like the Chiefs. Obviously, they're not as good, but just the way they play, their style is so hard to beat. You have to play almost a perfect game, even when Hurts isn't playing well. And I just feel like until I see otherwise, I'm expecting a Chiefs-Eagles Super Bowl. I don't know what else to expect. So, yeah, we'll see what happens with Jordan Love. I think he's at a month, maybe. I got to look into that, but that's obviously a tough injury for them. Cardinals and the Bills. The Cardinals are another team who I think people, listening to podcasts are really kind of a little bit higher on than I expected going into this year. Thought would be like a fun team because they have a good offense and a bad defense. Gave Buffalo a huge scare. Even though Buffalo won, I still don't think that they can win with this team. They're going to have the same problems in the playoffs. They're not good enough to beat the Chiefs. I don't even know if they're good enough to beat the Ravens. The roster seems to get the team in general seems to get weaker and weaker every year. This was a game that I feel like they would have won in a blowout even a couple of years ago, which now is an extremely close game. I don't think it bodes well for them, and I think this is another destination that Belichick can look at in the offseason with McDermott. Is not a bad coach. I just think they need kind of like a voice change in the locker room, and the problem with getting rid of McDermott is they're waiting for, like a bad year to happen, but the bad year is not going to happen because their roster is too talented. So they're just going to have to make the move and just go with it. Moving up the games, Patriots-Bengals. The game that eliminated me and a lot of other people from Survivor. The Bengals, similar to the Bills, I think we have to stop blowing smoke up their ass, particularly Joe Burrow, who obviously had a really, really good year, obviously was really, really good in college. But it seems like he has all this goodwill, and as far as I'm concerned, losing this game, that's done. Obviously, he's still a great player, but I don't think we can consider the Bengals a great team. And when I say great team, I mean you look at their Super Bowl odds, they were like, I want to say the fourth or fifth had the best odds going into the year, and I just don't see them beating the Chiefs. I don't see the Bills beating the Chiefs. And, I know they still have T. Higgins coming back, but I just don't think the roster is good enough. Moving on to the Titans and the Bears. The Titans blew a 17-0 lead. Not only that, they were +4, didn't cover either. Another game that I lost. Caleb Williams did not look good, but even better. I don't think it's a huge deal. A little concerning, but obviously it's his first game of his career. I don't think it's a huge deal. I wouldn't take much from it. I think the Bears will definitely be in the playoff mix as a wild card. I don't think they can win the division. But I wouldn't take too much from this game other than the Bears have a good defense, obviously, and I wouldn't judge Caleb Williams too hard yet. The Panthers and the Saints, and holy shit, probably the worst bet I've ever placed in my entire life. For some reason, I thought the Panthers would cover. I thought this was some reason like a sleeper bet, and they just got absolutely annihilated. I don't know where they go with Bryce Young, and I think Bryce Young is going to be one of the all-time busts. And when I say that, the pick in real time wasn't so bad because obviously he's talented. He was a number one quarterback coming out of high school from California, goes to Alabama. He's amazing at Alabama, super successful at Alabama, gets taken number one. But the thing is, he doesn't really have a path to success, even when you look at a quarterback like Daniel Jones, and who's not even close to as good as Bryce Young, not as successful, doesn't have the pedigree in college, blah, 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 blah. But given his size and given his speed, you can at least be like, okay, there's a path. It's a path that he'll probably never take, but there's a path. When you look at, previous busts like Jamarcus Russell at least had the cannon arm. Ryan Leaf had the look like he was really good in college, and Bryce Young he doesn't have the speed, he doesn't have the arm strength, he's not super accurate. There's just nothing he really, really does well. And then when you combine it with the fact that physically he's so small, it's just like, where is the path for him to kind of turn this around? Other than maybe being an average quarterback, I don't see him being a star at all. I don't even see him being good. And it just reminds me of like a college basketball player who's really good, almost like Jerry McNamara or some other, smaller guard. And you're just like, yeah, he's really, really good in college, but he's just too small for the pros, regardless of the success he has, regardless of what he was recruited at high school. And it seems like Bryce Young, that logic should have been used here, but he just kind of slipped by because of all the pedigree and everything. And I just don't see this getting good. And I don't know if Canales is a bad coach, but the Saints I thought would be pretty mediocre. I just thought their roster isn't that good. Their roster seems to continue to deteriorate, but it's very hard. I don't care how bad the team is. It's very hard to lay almost 50 points and blow a team out like this in the NFL. So the Saints look good. Steelers and Falcons, another disappointing game for the Falcons. It seems like every year or every couple of years they just stockpile these disappointing losses. Typical Steelers win, playing defense, not looking good on offense. Justin Fields looked okay. At this point, I would just assume the Steelers are going to somehow be a wild card team and sneak in, but I still don't love their team. The Falcons have a lot of talent, obviously, in offense with a lot of first-round picks. But Kirk Cousins didn't look good. He's coming off the torn Achilles. We'll see if Penix plays. I expect Penix to play by the end of this year one way or another. I don't know if they're going to pull Cousins. I don't know what's going to happen, but I think Penix is lurking. And if they're like 2-4 or 2-7 or whatever, I think they're going to come in and play Penix. Jaguars and Dolphins. Maybe the game of the week, the most evenly matched game. The Dolphins pulled it out. I think both of these teams are good. I think both of these teams are playoff teams. I don't really have hot takes in this game other than I think the Dolphins are still probably too finesse and too soft a team to win a Super Bowl. However, they're certainly going to be in the playoffs, and I think the Jaguars are a really solid team too. All these hot takes about Trevor Lawrence, this and that, he's good. I don't think the number one pick is really relevant anymore. People want to obsess over that, but once the pick is done, he's a good quarterback. He's their quarterback. He's locked in. It is what it is. Texans and Colts, another good game. The Texans are good. Stroud is good. He's going to be a really good quarterback for at least the next 10 years. And the Colts played a tough game. Anthony Richardson looked up and down. I think it's too early to tell on him, but it seems like he's just going to be this athletic freak who kind of never really is a polished passer. He's still young. He barely played last year. But the Texans and Jaguars, I think, are going to battle for this division. The Colts are a solid team, but I don't think they're good enough to really make the playoffs. Raiders and Chargers. The Raiders are mid as hell. I don't think they're going anywhere this year. The Chargers are going to be as typical. You get a coach like Harbaugh, and you win way more games than you should have. Just canceling out all of that Brandon Staley dreck for Harbaugh alone, even not even touching the roster, is probably worth like a good 2 or 3 wins. So they're going to be a pesky team. They have a good quarterback, and they might even make the playoffs. I think they'll certainly be in the mix. Broncos and Seahawks, thank God I won this game. My second Survivor team that I almost lost. Bo Nix looked pretty good. The Seahawks are a good team. They're a good team at home. I don't think they're a Super Bowl team. Geno's a solid quarterback. We've seen this roster, for it seems like Metcalf and Lockett have played forever at this point. But the Seahawks are just a solid team in the NFC. I don't think they're going to win that division. I still even think a banged-up 49ers team is going to win that division. But I think the Seahawks will be in the mix. Cowboys and Saints. Cowboys and Browns. The Cowboys look good. Another big Week 1 win last year in Week 1. They looked really good too. They seem to be like an underrated team every year because people love shitting on the Cowboys. They forget that they have a really good, solid roster because all of their seasons seem to end with disappointing losses, and we restart the cycle over again. The Browns are fucked. I don't know what they're going to do with Deshaun Watson. There's really never been a situation like this. It just seems like he lost his ability. He lost his talent. I don't even know. I don't think you can blame Rust anymore. Maybe give him one more week, but it just seems like not playing for, 1 year, 2 years, everything that happened mentally. It almost reminds me a little bit of Tiger Woods, where it just seems like he was never the same. And, obviously in football, it's a lot more fast-paced. It's a lot more obvious when that happens. So I don't know what they're going to do with Deshaun Watson. They're stuck with him. I think they just got to hope he plays better. If this goes on the entire year, they're just going to have to eat the money. They cannot bring him back next year. Eat the money. Get him out of there. Even if your cap is fucked, they can't bring him back. Commanders and Buccaneers. The Buccaneers are going to be, I think, one of the solid, maybe not sleeper teams anymore, but they're a solid team. Baker's a solid quarterback. And they've just been flying under the radar ever since Brady left. Jada Daniels looked pretty good. It's hard to tell. He was running a lot. He scored 2 rushing touchdowns. So his fantasy numbers are always going to look better than he actually plays in real life. But I still think he has a lot of potential. He played better than Caleb Williams. And he played better than a lot of other quarterbacks this week. And then finishing with the Rams and the Lions. The Lions are a team that I like a lot. They're a team that I pick to be the number 1 seed and a team I picked to go to the Super Bowl. I think they will be representing the NFC in the Super Bowl this year. A big, big win for them. People say they struggled, but I think the Rams are a lot better than people think they are, with Stafford and those 2 healthy receivers and Kyren Williams in the backfield. So I think this was a big win for the Lions as they kind of go for the number 1 seed and kind of go for their first Super Bowl appearance and win. And yeah, I think the Rams are solid too, and they'll be in the mix. So that is my recap of Week 1, kind of a quick recap. My biggest takeaways are just the Giants are terrible, the Panthers are terrible, and the Patriots are going to be a lot better than people think, and it looks like the Chargers are going to be better than people think, or at least better than I thought. And yeah, I think the teams that I sour on the most of the good teams are obviously the Bills and the Bengals. The Bills, Bengals, and Ravens. Pretty much all the Chiefs competition. I don't see any of them beating the Chiefs. A healthy Chiefs team. As long as Mahomes is playing, I don't see how you can pick against them. And I guess I'll end the video just with the prediction for tonight. The Jets are +4 at San Francisco. I'm going to go with the Jets here. I don't know if they'll win, but I like the Jets +4. San Francisco's banged up, and I just... As much as it scares me, taking the Jets, I really think this is their year. I think they're finally going to have a big year. I think finally the pieces have fallen into place. I know it's tough to be positive with them, but I really feel that way. Thanks, guys, for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please subscribe. I'll be doing this all year. Check out my other videos on movies, wrestling, UFC, everything. Thanks, guys, for watching. Hit subscribe, and as always, I'll see you on the next one.